This is part 3 of Federalist number 10. This is only a reading. I'm going to read the whole text of Federalist number 10. And when I get done with it in the next 2 or 3 videos, I'm not sure how many more videos it will take, I will then come back and explain it. So in the title, I will say, when I post these, I will say a reading, which means I'm just reading it, okay? So I'm going to start with the paragraph that says, the second expedience is as impracticable as the first would be unwise. As long as the reason of man continues fallible and he is at liberty to exercise it, different opinions will be formed. As long as the connection subsists between his reason and his self-love, his opinions and his passions will have a reciprocal influence on each other, and the former will be objects to which the latter will attach themselves. The diversity in the faculties of man from which the rights of property originate is not less an insuperable obstacle to uniformity of interest. The protection of these faculties is the first object of government. From the protection of different and unequal faculties of acquiring property, the possession of different degrees and kinds of property immediately results, and from the influence of these on the sentiments and views of the respective proprietors ensues a division of the society into different interests and parties. Again, a very important paragraph, and one thing I want you to pay attention to, nowadays when we use the word faculty, a lot of times we're talking about our professors, teachers at universities and colleges, okay? Sometimes they talk about the faculty of the mind, understanding, things like this, okay? But the term faculty, the way it was used back 2 centuries ago, especially by the founders, had a little deeper meaning, and I will excuse me, I will explain that to you. There's a book that I saw and I read a couple of chapters of it, and he explains certain things real well. That's one of the better ones that I've seen, and I will show you the book. It's written by Daniel Walker Haw, Howe. I think the title of it is The American Self, and it would be good if you get a chance to look at a couple of chapters in that book that will explain this to you. So let me reread this to you. The second expedient is as impracticable as the first would be unwise. As long as the reason of man continues fallible and he is at liberty to exercise it, different opinions will be formed. As long as the connection subsists between his reason and his self-love, his opinions and his passions will have a reciprocal influence on each other, and the former will be objects to which the latter will attach themselves. The diversity in the faculties of men from which the rights of property originate is not less an insuperable obstacle to a uniformity of interests. The protection of these faculties is the first object of government. From the protection of different and unequal faculties of acquiring property, the possession of different degrees and kinds of property immediately results. And from the influence of these on the sentiments and views of the respective proprietors ensues a division of the society into different interests and parties. Okay, let's just, for right now, just so that you have an idea of what this faculty might mean. You know, these days, when we talk about certain people, let's say you have a family member that is really good at woodworking, working with woods, like either carpentry or cutting woods, and making works of arts into them. You say, he is talented, he's just got a genius for this thing, okay? That's what you see him doing for the rest of his life. So that, in a sense of 2 centuries ago, you might be able to say that's a faculty that he has, okay? And if he uses that faculty, he will earn a living, he'll be good, he might make a little money, he might make not so much money, he might make a lot of money, he might open a big business, and with that business might come a lot of money, a lot of power, and a lot of interest in that line of work, right? So if your business is woodworking, working with wood, you want to make sure that you can get the best wood for the least expensive price there is. So your interest, your political interest tends to be drawn towards that, okay? And that in itself gradually can become a political idea, political interest. Now, if you have before I go too far, let me just stop here. So he says, just think of faculty as a talent for a specific thing, or so faculties becomes talents to do different things. And Madison here is reminding us that some jobs you might be real great at, but it might not bring you a lot of money. And some jobs you might be great at, and they might bring you a lot of money, okay? But at the end of the day, you want to politically be on the side of what brings you a lot of money or gives you a lot of power or things like that. So he says, if you think of it, factions have their origins at a place like this, where people use their faculties in different ways, and those faculties will bring you fame sometimes, money, and you tend to want to be watchful of your money, your property. You don't want it to go to the wrong hands. You don't want somebody else to come and snatch it, take your money away. So this is kind of what he's referring to in this chapter. Just wanted to kind of give you a small explanation into this so you won't be left in the dark. Okay, we'll continue with the next paragraph in the next video.